Awesome. All right, guys. All right, let's do this super quick. First thing to look at S&P. So I always like to give you guys an idea on how the market's looking. So SPY did pull in a little bit on Friday here after a pretty decent like rally back up. We're really just wedged between the 821 and 50 now on the S&P, right? So a lot of people were calling for doomsday on Friday. It was a down move, right? We had a pretty decent move off the lows, off the 50 EMA. Not the end of the world just yet. There's not a huge change of trend. We could potentially be setting up a head and shoulders, something like this. But we need more time to see if that's what the market wants to do, right? So there's still more time for us to set up, see what ends up happening. But it does look like a potential head and shoulders would set up. But to me, really, all this is consolidation. So from here, we'll see what ends up happening in terms of where we break out. We did a very similar kind of thing here during this period. A lot of people thought this was going to be head and shoulders. We ended up gapping up, moving up, right? So we could be starting a trend down. We could be losing this trend line right here, or we could just be holding the spot. Again, our job is to react, not predict what the market wants to do. However, we do end up looking at the actual overall patterns and seeing how we can play this well. So what I'm watching for next week, very simple. If we lose the 50-day, look at the 100 and the 200, right? So you can see we tested the 100 kind of basically on September 10, and we also tested it on Friday, the 20th of December right here. So that's going to be the next level to watch if we lose the 50-day. Obviously, watch this low here at 581, and then from there, we'll see if that head and shoulders sets up. If we're able to reclaim back above the moving averages, get back above 598, there's a chance we can come back up to 609. But last week, I literally gave you guys a script, right? I said this low right here with lots of volume was going to set up for a bounce. We got that exact move. Where do we stop? Right at 602. This is where the downside started, right? So look at this candle right here on after FOMC. Look at where the downside happened, right? Once we broke this key level, look right here where the downside happened, right where we retested it. So this is just a retest of the breakdown level. So now it's to see if we're going to reclaim it, move higher, or if we stay below. The more we stay below, the higher chance for sellers to push us back down and start a downside trend. So just keep that out. In mind. Also, this could be a failed head and shoulders break, right? And then it could move the other way. That's happened a lot of times in the market so far, but you don't want to jump to decisions right away, to conclusions right away. Just let the market kind of set up, see what it does. We're going into new year, new flows, things like that. So obviously markets close on Wednesday. 2025 going to have new flows from fund managers, things like that. So there's going to be a lot of flows in the market. Tech is still way above the 50-day EMA. So again, a lot of people are panicking, but we're still above the 50-day. I mean, look at the trend that we've put in here since we made this low here in August. We've held the 50-day all the times that we've tested it, right? So the past 2 times that we've tested it and continued to move higher. So again, not saying that necessarily means that the market has to go up, but it's just looking at the previous price action and getting an understanding that we're still holding some key levels. So we saw a pretty decent hammer here. This is like kind of like a neutral hammer, I would say. We didn't close near the highs, kind of in the middle of the candle, but we did have this wick left over from the low. So that does show some pretty good aggression into the end of the day from buyers. ARC looks probably, I would say, like the worst in terms of looking at SPY and tech. It was the weakest on Friday. A lot of growth names were a little bit weak. We potentially could be building a lower high right here, and then kind of pushing down here and getting a lower low and potentially flipping the trend. But again, if you look at the ARC weekly, it looks honestly still really good. Like if you just zoom out to the weekly, we're in a big breakout, right? We're still not even close to retesting it. And the 3-week consolidation that we have here, it looks pretty controlled if you zoom out to the weekly, right? So if we come down here to test this spot, get buyers back in, we could make that continuation move higher. So we still have a chances to hold up, set up. I saw a lot of setups in the market when I was scanning, honestly. I was pretty surprised. I thought there wasn't going to be too many setups going into the new year, but there's a lot of setups in the market. So obviously from here, again, we'll see if the market wants to follow through to the downside. There's a few setups to the downside as well that look good. So I'm ready to trade both ways, regardless of where the market ends up going. I just need confirmation that we're starting to build a trend that way. That's what we're trying to look for. So the Dow did pull back a little bit. This was a little bit like a rising wedge here into this key level, into the moving averages. But you could see the difference between the Dow, for example, and tech, right? So tech's still above the 821.50. The Dow is below the 821.50, and the 8 actually crossed below the 50. So this is a bearish active sequence. What this means basically is every time that price will retest the moving averages, it will move lower. So it'll kind of move like staircases down. And this is what we're trying to see if the overall market is going to set up like. But right now, this is how the Dow is setting up. So if the Dow doesn't end up putting a higher low right here and we make a new low, we're officially going to be in a downtrend on the Dow. Kind of something like we saw even in 2022 right here with this big move down, right? So if that ends up happening, we'll see weakness in industrials, banks, healthcare. Those sectors have already been a little bit weaker. Obviously, healthcare has been one that's been pretty weak. So we'll watch to see if there's continuation to the downside there, or if those get maybe bought up a little bit after being oversold off their levels. IWM also in a downtrend, right? So you can see the 21's crossing below the 50, the 8's below the 50 here. So this is again a downtrend here on the daily time frame. On the weekly time frame, we're now kind of losing this big level that we needed to hold at 226. And you can see that's exactly where we rejected on the daily as well, right there on the crossback. So if we can't reclaim that level, we probably will see some weakness in IWM. FOMC obviously hurt these small caps a lot. A lot of people were expecting like 4 rate cuts in 2025. We're thinking there's only going to be 2 now with the way that the Fed was pretty hawkish last meeting. So that is something to keep in mind and consider. We could be setting up some sort of bear flag here on IWM. So if small caps move lower, this could honestly be a really good short. So I'll be looking at stuff like this. A lot of people are always asking me like what I'm looking at in the markets if we were going to be moving to the downside. Obviously, we've been in a pretty bullish market for the past few months. This is exactly what you're looking for. So same thing you would look for to the upside. So a big move up, consolidation, boom, continuation, right? Same thing here. If the trend flips and we're below the moving averages, you're looking for this, right? This is exactly what you're looking for. Just make it simple. Nothing too complicated. And again, stocks will move faster to the downside than they move to the upside because selling is based off of panic. And there's a lot of selling does come in really, really fast because the markets do get into panic mode really quickly. So if the markets move down, there's still opportunity to make money. You just have to be smart and look at the setups and wait for the setups to play out. So that would be an idea of what you could look for to the downside. I do have a few ideas that I'm going to show you guys on like my top short setup ideas that I would like. Then I'm going to explain exactly why those look the best compared to others. But again, there can be really good downside setups. You don't always have to be long if that's what the market shows you. But again, you don't want to be rushing to be short if the market's still in an uptrend. So you do want to give the market a little bit of time to see what it wants to do and then play the trend. That's the most important part, right? So first setup that I'm really looking at and I'm watching, I already am positioned a little bit in this on MBLY, potentially looking to add more if it gets through the 200 EMAs. So if you look at the moving averages, you can see the 200 EMAs right above price. It was also acting as resistance right here. I like this 20.1 spot. If we get over this level here on MBLY, I think it moves a lot higher. I love the volume patterns. I love the strength that it had on Friday right off the 80 EMA. It's been holding up well. And it's also got a really nice theme going for it as well. It has a gap to fill up to $21. So that could be somewhere to look at for this move. So I'm thinking this one can continue to move higher. Probably one of my best setups. If it moves through the 200 EMA, I might even look to add more size. I'm still really liking Tesla. This one did show a little bit of weakness the past 2 days. But I think what it's trying to do is set up a bigger base. Obviously, you could see how much the stock has moved in the past like 2 weeks. I mean, this move right here is not normal, right? I mean, this is like an absolutely huge move. So what happens is sometimes stocks would need to consolidate for longer after a really big move. So I'm expecting something like this to happen on Tesla. Maybe this is some sort of top and then it starts flipping the trend the other way. But so far, it's been holding the key level that it has to hold, right? So if you look at the weekly time frame, the weekly doesn't look the best, but it's holding right above the previous highs. And you guys remember, anytime a stock is strong, it will hold previous highs. This is how it shows you that it's strong. And that's how like the best stocks in the market move. They hold above their previous highs, they build above the previous highs, and then they move higher. So looking for something like this potentially to set up on Tesla. Next one is Joby, Joby. This is an insanely strong name in the aero defense sector. This sector has been super strong. We actually traded RBLK, which is a stock in the same sector this week. Made some pretty good money on that one. I think this one's going to set up for even a bigger move just based off the way that the daily looks. If it breaks this 9.3 level, it just looks so ready to push higher. You could see some very high volume here on this move here on Thursday, and then it's a Friday, very low volume as the market was pulling back. This is exactly what you want to see and what I was talking about on that whole live training that I did. This is how you see that institutions are still in the position. Look at the volume that we saw here. Look at the volume that we saw here. Look at the volume that we saw here. The selling volume was much lower, right? Now we're having some pretty good buy volume here as well. Sell volume lower, the most recent downside day right there. So if this breaks over 9.3, it's going to get a really big move, in my opinion, to like $10, $11, maybe even $12 if it does have the momentum. So I definitely like this sector. It's in a leading sector. It's a leading name. It's breaking out on the weekly. It's everything that we look for, right? This is what I look for in stocks. Next one is SOUN. We've traded this one twice really, really well right here on this breakout and then earlier as it was breaking out on the weekly base. Huge weekly breakout on this one, right? So if you look at the weekly, very similar to Tesla, it's breaking out above the all-time high. The only difference is it retested the breakout beautifully and then it held really, really well compared to like Tesla. You could see so far it's still holding, but it's not as strong as something like SOUN. So when I see that, that gives me conviction to look at something like this. The only thing I would say with SOUN is the implied volatility is going to be really, really high. So that's going to be like something to watch out for. When IV is high, that usually makes it a little bit harder to trade contracts for this because it's been moving so much. But if it moves to $30, I mean, those contracts are still going to move really, really well. So what I'm looking at for this one is it has an inside day right here. We're looking for the inside day break. If it could do that, break the inside day high, we could use some Fibonacci's to find our targets. So it's 27, 28, and then 30 for potential targets. And then measured move is all the way up at 32.5. So that could be a really nice move for that. You could see volume patterns. This is exactly what I was talking about in the webinar. Institutions buying, not selling here as volume is lower, higher as it moves higher, lower as it moves lower, consolidates higher again as it moves up, and then lower as it consolidates, showing that institutions are not selling. So we know the next leg up is probably going to be on higher volume. So this one looks really, really good. Roblox looks amazing to me. Same thing with this one with the volume patterns, high volume, high volume, high volume, and then low volume all the way through as it consolidates. Again, exactly what you want to see. So we have a tight pennant here right into the 21 and the 8-day. ARK isn't the strongest, but this stock itself has showed like so much relative strength. If you look at the weekly, it's just now breaking out of a weekly base, right? So when a stock is able to hold above the weekly base breakout and potentially build above, it looks ready for continuation higher. So whenever I see a stock that's this strong, it gives me conviction for these names. So it looks super good. I think if it breaks out over the 60.2 level, it looks ready to move higher. The reason why I use that level is if you go down to the hourly, you could see that's going to confirm a higher high, right? So you could see right here we're making lower highs, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, right? So the moment you break above the previous lower high, that confirms a higher high. That means this trend line is broken. So that would confirm the breakout. That's why I use that level for that. So those would be the 4 stocks on my focus list. Now there's a lot of stocks that do look pretty good, again, which is why I was kind of interested on my scan. And a few themes that I wasn't really expecting. So the first one is going to be retail stocks. So a few of you might have noticed, I know some of you are looking at like Ulta or you're looking at this one. A few people in the Discord were trading this. Lulu, a few of you were looking at that as well. I think maybe Yusuf is already in that one. Looks really good, right? So look at ANF. This is Abercrombie and Fitch. It went on an absolutely like parabolic run in early 2024. And then since then, the whole year, basically the last 8 months, it's just been in the space. Now, that's literally exactly what you want to see on a stock that goes parabolic. Let me show you guys NVIDIA. So what happened to NVIDIA? It went basically absolutely parabolic in early like 2023, 2024. It built out a massive base, and then look what it did again. Boom, move up, right? Same thing here. Built a base, boom, move up. This is how stocks move. So this is how you want to see stocks move. If a stock builds a base, especially a big base like this off of the moving averages after a huge run, it's going to move higher usually, as long as it obviously holds the base. If it breaks down, then it breaks down. But if it breaks up here, that's going to be a huge mover. So this is definitely one of my biggest convictions going into 2025. I would definitely recommend either buying some stock on this once it breaks out or buying options, whatever works best for you on this trade. To me, it looks absolutely phenomenal. The volume patterns over the past few days have been pretty good as well. Since earnings, obviously we had some pretty big selling here, but since earnings, it's been looking pretty well. Obviously, we'll like to see those continue to develop out and show us that there is strength in this stock, but it looks really, really good to me. So definitely a nice setup on that. DKS looks very good as well. So another one that had a really good run in 2024, early 2024. And then again, boom, look what it's setting up, right? So again, patterns repeat themselves. So look at this base right here, big base, rejection, 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 boom, breakout, huge move. Right here, rejection, 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 potential rejection, or breakout, and then boom, huge move. That's what we want to catch, that next leg up. So DKS looks really good. Ulta is another one that looks pretty good on the weekly and daily, more so on the daily time frame because he's breaking this daily base on the weekly base. Sorry, on the daily, it has this PEG setup, so post earnings gap on high volume, consolidating on low volume. You can see really nice volume patterns moving higher, showing strength when the market is weak. All the things that we look for. And then again, last one's Lulu. This is going to be a little bit of a theme that I noticed with like these retail stocks. They look really, really nice. A few more stocks look really good to me. RBRK, I don't have like an exact trigger level for this one, but I think it could be some sort of leader. You could see on the weekly time frame breaking out of this big base, daily time frame setting up in a really nice daily base here. It might need a little bit more time to set up like a pennant, but the setup looks good. So it's definitely one that I want to pay attention to, keep my eyes on it. That one looks nice. INOD, another beautiful one. So this one could potentially just now be setting up to break out. It had a little bit of this failed breakout here on high volume, which is the only reason I'm a little bit skeptical of it, which is why it's not on the focus list. But regardless, if it breaks above and confirms over this level here at 47, I think this one's ready to absolutely rip. Another one that looks good, AEHR. This is a tech stock. Look at the weekly time frame on this one. So it's getting back above the 50-day. It's breaking out of this trend line here. It's got a really solid base. Look at the volume patterns. Huge volume as it moves up. Huge volume as it moves up. Huge volume as it moves up. On the daily time frame, looks phenomenal as well. It's breaking out of this trend line. Looks like it's setting up to move higher. Beautiful volume here. This is exactly the patterns that I look for. Huge volume on the move up. Low volume on the move down. Again, high volume as buyers come back in. And then some smaller volume as the candle gets a little bit thinner. So as it continues to move up, we do want to see volume confirm that as well. Really nice looking setup. Reddit looks really good as well. This one's been pulling back on pretty low volume. App is an interesting one as well. It had some high volume here on the sell-off, but since then it's been kind of consolidating on lower volume. I just wanted to see if this one is able to break over 350. If it's able to get back over this 350 spot, it can move back up to 400. RKLB still looks very good. This one did stop me out break even. On Friday, but it does still look really good. I might get back in on this one. You can see it broke out of the space. Now it's kind of retesting here. GameStop still looks pretty good. Really nice volume patterns on it. That's why I'm really interested in GameStop. Look at the volume patterns. So to me, I think someone's buying that up. That looks really good. TSM, AVGO. This might be a really hot take, but I think semiconductors might be bottoming. So reason why, thoughts on why. Look at AMD, okay? This stock's being down over the last like 8 months, right? So since March, it's literally done nothing but go down, kind of in like waves, right? But now when the market's showing weakness, the last 4 days, especially, or last 5 days, it's actually trading against the market, right? So that's like usually a pretty early sign of a change of character. Now, obviously super, super early. AMD is still probably like not the best stock to own or hold just because of the performance that it's been having, but this is something you want to look at maybe for other stocks that you're trading in the sector. So if I see AMD starting to bottom, I don't see a reason why stocks like AVGO, which are leading, or TSM that is leading the sector, move higher. So these would be two names that you definitely want to pay attention to. I still also like NVIDIA. I know a lot of you are watching this one. It did break out of this trend line, and then it kind of retested it a little bit here at the moving averages. Might need a little bit more time, but it does look really, really good. So definitely really, really nice setup on that. ASTS still looks pretty good. A few more docs looks really nice. And then these are just a few names. But yeah, these are the ones that I was focused on the most, especially the ones that I just the listed at the beginning. Those are my focuses. So MBLY, Jobby, SOUN, Roblox, then maybe BRK, INOD, and then like ANF. Those are going to be the most nice setups out there. All right, guys, that's pretty much going to recap it. If you have any questions, any charts you guys want me to look at, I'll be going over those now. Again, I've been on here for 2 hours, so I'm going to be doing this quicker than usual, but I'll get through a few just because it's getting a little bit late. But yeah. Snow. This one did break down a little bit on Friday. So if it stays below this level, it might continue to fill the gap lower. If it reclaims 161, it might be able to break out of this downtrend and then get back up into the highs. So this level is going to be key, 162. You want to watch that spot. GRRR, Gorilla Technology. This one's been super, super strong. Definitely has some nice flows here. You can see like huge volume as it moves up. On the weekly time frame, I'm not really sure what this does. Software company, I guess. It looks like it's breaking out of this weekly downtrend right here. Yeah, I mean, this isn't a huge move up here. IV is probably going to be a little bit high, but if you're just trading the stock, this looks really good. I probably wouldn't chase it up into the highs here, but if it can set something up like this into the moving averages, then I would probably take that for a continuation higher. But it kind of looks like IONQ before the move, the really big run that I had. MBLY under 17 awaiting breakout. Yeah, I'm watching that one too. Wolf. This one is a little bit on the weaker side. Might need a little bit more time to like set back up, move higher on that. CRNC and BE. This one looks pretty good to me. It's setting up on the daily time frame. If it can get through $9, I can see it come up to like 10. But yeah, super nice volume here. Lower volume has been consolidating. Looks like a software name. Those have been pretty strong recently. BE, not my favorite just because of the sell volume. So even though, yeah, it did have some good volume here as it was breaking out, I think this was like on news or something. It's been having some pretty violent like pullbacks here on volume. But overall, if it breaks out, I would still probably trade it, but it just needs to break out first and confirm. So I would say it needs to get out of this wedge first. But I would like to see maybe better volume before it breaks out. SQ looks like break and retest on weekly. Yeah, I'm seeing that as well on SQ. You could see that the weekly candles are getting really thin on low volume. That's exactly what you want to see. So if it's thin on low volume, that means that buyers are supposed to come back in, especially if it holds a key level, which obviously is testing a key level here at the ADMA and the weekly time frame breakout. But it definitely needs to hold this like 87.3 level at the 50 EMA. That's going to be really big for it. LMND, this one broke out on Thursday and then came back down basically like double the other way as the market was pulling back. Definitely not the best look, but it has a little bit more time to shape up maybe and set back up on the bigger time frames. Still looks pretty decent if it can like set something back up, but I think it might need more time from here since it had a pretty big rejection. Apple, this one is really, really strong, like insane strength. I mean, look, it hasn't even broken below the 8-day once since getting back above it right here all the way since like November 21st. So like for a month, it's literally been above the 8-day. Huge daily breakout. This is clearly a big leader in the market. It needs to hold up. So Apple's going to give us signs. If Apple doesn't hold up, the market's going to be a little bit weaker. If it holds up, we probably have a chance to see new highs. But yeah, it did hold up pretty nicely at the ADMA. You can see we got kind of bought back up a little bit. To enter this, I would probably wait for it to tighten up again like it did here. Or, I mean, this would be a bigger base, so probably not like something that's realistic. But maybe if it gives you like a few days of consolidation and then breaks out, that's where I would look for continuation on it. GameStop, I really like GameStop actually. It still held up pretty well on Friday. I know I had some like Roaring Kitty stuff last week. Maybe sell the news a little bit, but you could see the volume was really low on the sell-off and super high volume as it was moving up. So that's really solid to see. So as long as it holds $32, it looks pretty good. PSTG. This one looks to be setting up as well, potentially. Still probably needs a little bit more time to consolidate. Maybe the 21-day needs to come up. Pretty good volume patterns though. So you can see here some good volume as it was breaking out. Good volume here as well. Lower volume as it's consolidating. So it might need some time to fill out this pennant, but it could start to push up higher through that spot. XOM. This one's in a big downtrend. Looks pretty weak to me. It's back in this range here as well, so it might need more time to consolidate, like on the weekly time frame. But yeah, oil stocks definitely have not been performing that good. You can see right here is clearly a pretty big key level for it, 108. It needs to reclaim 108 for any chance of like a reversal. If it stays under 108, this is probably just setting up a bear flag into the moving averages for a move lower. SPY after hours. What are we looking like? It looks like we're down 0.15%. We'll see what ends up happening. Obviously, there's a lot of time going into the open. Google still looks pretty good for Google. I think maybe it's setting up a daily pennant here. It still needs to get a little bit more tighter. So like maybe a few more days of consolidation and then it breaks out. Or if it goes the other way, that could be a play as well. But it's still above all the moving averages. It's been showing strength. It's trying to hold above the previous high on this weekly level here at like 190. I still think there's a chance for Google. It obviously, a lot of it depends on the market as well. I would say the same thing with Netflix. This one might need more time to consolidate. So you can see right here, set up like a perfect pennant and then moved up. It needs to set like some sort of like flag like this and then make the breakout. So for now, it's still kind of consolidating and in range. A-Lab has been awesome too. Yeah, that one's been like a liquid leader. It's been super strong. Common reason why stuff like A-Lab and Reddit have moved higher compared to a lot of other stocks. Look at the weekly time frame. So a lot of these are breaking out of the big IPO base, and they have the momentum to move higher. So look at like SOUN, same thing, big weekly breakout at the IPO base. Reddit, boom, big weekly breakout out of the IPO base. It's at all-time high, so it's gonna have much less resistance up here. So I would focus on those names. They're showing a lot of strength. QUBT, that one looks like it could set back up. It's the wrong stock, but yeah, that one looks like it could set back up. I was actually looking at this. You can see lower volume as it's been pulling in. It might set something like this up, this like flag here. But if it can do that, it does look like it has some chance to move higher. Thoughts on Zoom? This one's right at this trend line right here. It needs to hold this trend line or else it comes back down to the 50. If it holds a trend line, it might be able to break back out if the market moves higher. GEV. This got a nice flag, but it might need more time to consolidate because you can see it's rejecting here, getting below the moving averages. I would take it only if it breaks out because right now it looks like it's still kind of consolidating. OK low, I'd say the same thing. I tried this one this week, got like a decent gain on it, but then got stopped out here. It needs to probably break out of like this bigger base before it gets any momentum. I think it's still probably just going to be a little bit too early and it's going to chop in the space and build it out. But overall, the setup looks really good for this year in general. So I would definitely keep my eye on that. UPSC. All right. So yeah, this is actually what I wanted to get into. A lot of you always ask me what to look for in bearish setups. So let's look at this really quickly. So first thing, obviously, volume, right? So when we see big sell-off volume like this, obviously right here we have a pretty big move to the upside, but just not looking at this volume candle right here, we have a few pretty big volume candles to the downside in terms of the selling compared to the buying. So that's the first red flag to look at. That usually means institutional selling or we're changing the trend. Next thing is once the stock moves through the moving averages. So again, you can see the stock right here move through the moving averages. You want to see how it reacts on the pull in, right? So when it pulls in, it retests the moving average. What happens? Is it breaking over or is it rejecting? If it's rejecting like UPST, this is a short setup. And now we have a key level to trade, right? Look at this level right here. If this stock breaks this level, what do you think ends up happening? It's going to fill the gap, right? I mean, this is just a key level to trade. Same thing ended up happening on something like Snow. You could see it, this was the gap fill right here, key level, ended up being a beautiful short on Friday. So these are the types of setups that I would look for. Something like MSTR would be even cleaner. Reason why is because it even has this huge capitulation candle, right? So this could be institution selling, it could be institution shorting. This is a lot of volume, right, to the downside. Some good volume here off the lows, but since then we haven't seen any high volume buying, right? So if it breaks this low 319 and gets below the 50-day with volume, I would easily short something like this. And it has a lot of room to come back down to like the 200 level on the weekly time frame because I mean, look at the weekly. It moved really quickly from this level right here, this breakout, all the way to the highs. So it can come back down just as fast. Look at something like SMCI. Obviously, I know SMCI had like fraud scandals and stuff like that. I don't think MSTR is going to be in the same position. But, I mean, there's a pretty similar chart, right? I mean, you got some pretty big volume here off the highs. So it made a quick move to the upside. It made it just as quick as it moved to the downside as it was pulling in. So, yeah, something to look at. APLD, yeah, let's check that out. I'm gonna do like 2 more guys and then probably hop off for the night. But yeah, this one looks pretty good on the weekly. On a daily, it might not be ready yet, but on the weekly, if it can get through like $11, it might be ready. Has ER coming up soon though. That could be something to look at. WGS. Ooh, this is a good setup. Pretty nice setup, yeah. It's got a nice flag forming here. If it breaks through this trend line right here at like 81.5, it looks like it's set up for higher. Oracle, this one looks like it's in a downtrend. So you can see it's below the moving averages, a gap down on earnings. It's rejecting here and potentially like a bear flag. If it breaks this level here at 166, it might have some room to come back down to the lows. If it does hold and reclaim, it could end up building up for higher, but it does look pretty bad to me. Same thing with ZS. You can see this one's breaking down from this daily base. Below the 50 EMA and below the 821.50, so it could be in a bearish trend now. Clear level here at like 179 though, so if it breaks that, it's going to move lower. If it can hold and reclaim, maybe it could build up for higher. But so far to me, that looks pretty bad. CRM, not as weak as the others. This one's actually still above the moving averages and some really nice volume patterns. So if the market does turn, I would say this one has probably the best chance at potentially turning higher. You got some sort of like wedge forming here potentially. And the weekly still looks pretty good to me. It's right at the 80 EMA, so we could be setting something up there on CRM. That would also be like one of the leaders in the software sector as well. MDB looks absolutely terrible. So this one's clearly in a big weekly downtrend. You could see that ever since this high was made, it's been moving in staircases down. So that's clearly a downtrend. You could also see the volume is supporting that. Huge volume to the downside. On the daily time frame, huge volume here to the downside, and every single time it sells off, it's on big volume. It is a little bit extended to the downside already, but it's probably going to continue to move lower because stocks in a downtrend, that's what they do. TSM, that one looks pretty good to the upside. If it can reclaim and hold above 208, that one has a chance to the upside. I like the volume patterns on this one. Again, look at how much volume it had as it was moving up, and then lower volume as it was pulling in. That's exactly what you want to see. Poet. This one was really nice last week. Yeah, I would definitely wait for some more consolidation. I mean, you do have the inside day to trade, maybe if you take the inside day break. But yeah, I mean, the best setups are going to be into the 8 EMA. So if this can like pull in a little bit like a controlled wedge into the 8 EMA, amazing setup could come out of that, right? So that's what I would look for personally. Palantir at the 8 day, that one looks really good. It needs to hold that spot and then reclaim this like $80 breakout that I had. Sky T. This one looks pretty interesting. I think it might need a few more days to consolidate, but it's got the setup brewing here, so it could set up for that big move higher. Looks pretty good to me. MDGX. MDXG. Oops. Yeah, this one looks strong too. This is pretty good volume patterns here off this original move. You can see some good volume here as it was moving up. It could be setting up in this flag here, so it does look potentially ready to move higher. I would say through like 9.4 could test up into $10 plus. Over 10, it's really going to get moving. HIMS. This one looks interesting. It's still retesting the big breakout here. I wouldn't say it's completely a failed breakout just yet, but it hasn't been the cleanest price action off this level just yet either. So we need to hold this 25.2 spot and be able to build back up. What's my fib measurement? I have negative fibs for these, so you can see the exact. I'll actually take a screenshot for you so you can see it. They basically stand for. I mean, most of them are gonna just be derived off like the algo levels. So 0.0318, and then 0.618. And those are gonna be my targets for trades that are like setting up out of a big base. Lucid. This one looks pretty good on the daily. Weekly time frame is still below the 50 days, so it's going to see some resistance here. You can see the last time it rejected and moved lower is right off the 50, but look at how much volume it's been having on the weekly time frame. So I do think it might be setting up to change its trend. The only thing is I would wait for it to get back above the 50 EMA on the weekly before getting long, because you might have that big rejection happen again. Even though I think it's less likely this time because the volume is really good, I would still wait for it to set up and then break above that spot. Roku. This one is a little bit on the weaker side recently. It did have a pretty nice move here and potentially set back up. It just couldn't break out. But it's right off the 50 days. So if it can hold the 50 day, it's still setting up in this wedge. It just needs to get back through like $80, and then that could look nice to the upside. Okay, Lo, we already went over that. I can't go over the same stocks, guys. Sorry, I would love to, but like too many requests, and it's getting really, really late. But yeah, if you missed it, just make sure to look back at the recording because it will have that for you, or just type it in the chart request channel and I'll get to it in the Discord. But yeah, Costco could be setting up off the 50. It does look a little bit weak off the highs there. The weekly time frame does look very extended though. So if you look at the weekly time frame, Costco does like to like set up pretty big bases on the weekly after a big move up. So it could be potentially looking to set something up like that as well. You said you like the volume on MBLY. What are you seeing there? It looks kind of mixed to me. I could see how you're seeing the mixed volume. But to me, what I'm seeing is like recently, right? So every single time we had a big move up, it was pretty much on big volume. I know we had a few times where you see like you have a pretty big downside volume here. But big volume, big volume, big volume, big volume, big volume for sellers, but big volume for buyers, big volume, and then big volume. So there's more times on the right side here where we're setting up that volume was coming in from the buy side. I would agree with you. Yeah, definitely not the cleanest patterns for sure. But I would say most of the times I do see some pretty big volume. And if it breaks through the key level with volume, then we can definitely see higher on that. Bros, this one had pretty nasty rejection. I don't love the way it rejected. I would love for it to get back through like 56 to be confident in that setup. QS, this one's had some pretty crazy volume here the past 2 days. Could be a potential theme. That's why I kind of like MBLY as well. Like these car companies, pretty interesting theme. Like building out autonomous driving, things like that. I've been seeing a theme for that. So we could be seeing some sort of squeeze here on QS. Might be like an early type of like quantum computing type of theme. Maybe not there fully, but it might be interesting. So I would keep my eye on it. If it gets through like the $7 level, it might have some legs to this move. ACHR, that one looks really good. It's super strong. It's breaking out on the daily time frame. Looks like it might set up for higher. You would want to see it hold above the previous high, so like somewhere around like $10. As long as it can hold that, it can set back up. It does look a little bit extended on daily because it has already moved pretty well. So if it sets up something like this and then breaks out, that would be even more optimal for like a really clean move higher on that. Real has that IPO base breakout. So this would be more like a stage 2 breakout. So IPO base breakout would mean that this has to get above the IPO base highs. So that would be at $30. However, what you're referring to is probably like the stage 1 breakout or stage 1 base that's now entering a stage 2, which yes, it is doing. So like if you look at something like Robinhood, which would be ticker Hood, look at the setup on Hood, right? So it's doing the same thing as Real. So those setups are really good as well. So good eye for that one. It looks pretty good. QMCO looking to short. I don't know. This is like a parabolic short type of idea. I don't know if I would personally take it. I mean, if you're looking at the previous day's low at 65.8 and then it breaks that, I could see that I could see this coming back down to $50. So that could potentially work. But yeah, this thing's going parabolic, pretty crazy. Rivian. This one looks pretty good still to me. On the daily time frame, you can see the sell-offs haven't really been on too much volume. And it's still kind of setting up. It might need more time because on the weekly, you could see it's like at a big level here at the 50 EMA. And this has been rejecting that spot a few times. But I think Rivian and Lucid could be like starting to turn around over the next few months. So that they could have a pretty nice 2025. Kodak. Haven't heard of this company like forever, but honestly, the weekly looks pretty nice on it. Ever since it had this crazy move here. The weekly does look pretty good on this. It's breaking out of this weekly base. On the daily, it's set up pretty nice. It's got almost everything that we look for. So definitely a nice setup here. If it breaks over 7.3, that'd probably be your trigger. Looks pretty good. Mara. This one looks really weak to me. It looks like it failed breakout here. Now it's coming back down into the range below the 50 EMA on the weekly. I think it might have some room, especially if a Bitcoin pulls in. I mean, this is going to be a huge level right here where this gap is at 17.8. But if it comes below that, there's room down to like 16 and maybe even like 13 before any really big support. Asan. This one could have some legs to it. On the weekly, it is breaking out. But on the daily, you could see it's not looking the best just yet. It might need some more time to, for a potential setup higher for that. ZVRA. This one also is failing to hold the breakout spot higher. Really choppy price action on this. But yeah, it looks like it's in a trend to the downside now to me. So if it fails to hold like $8, it might continue to move lower. AL does look really good. But yeah, there was like news overnight or like this week with all the Boeing stuff. I don't know. Am I gonna focus on the boot camp? So obviously I'm gonna be putting my time into the boot camp, but every single thing that's been in the Discord is gonna stay exactly the same. So I'm still gonna be doing live masterclasses for the Discord. You guys are all still gonna get the exact same value you're paying for, so there's not gonna be any difference at all in the Discord. All alerts are gonna be exactly the same. Anything that I'm trading, you're gonna be personally be able to copy, follow along, learn from it, all that good stuff. So the Discord's still gonna be the Discord's literally gonna be exactly the same. Like there's gonna be no difference at all. Just to get that out there. All right, everybody, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna do the last ones that I see right here. So let's do FedEx. If I missed yours, I'm sorry. Type it. If you're not in the Discord, type it in free chat. I'll get to it. If you are in the Discord, put it in the chart request. I'll look over that. But yeah, FedEx does look like it's potentially setting up some sort of like flag here. It's still on the weaker side off of this like earnings break to the downside. But if it can like reclaim the 50 EMA here and get back above 284, it does have room up to $300. So it does look pretty interesting. Lunar, I do like the I do really like the aero defense sector. So I really like Lunar. Super strong here. It consolidated a little bit after a really big day. I think maybe it needs a little bit more time to step back up. Maybe into the 8 EMA would be beautiful. Or like this previous high to test that and then move higher. But yeah, super solid setup. I would definitely be long this in the long run. It looks really good. Rum, thank you for your time. Yeah, bro, of course. Rumble did pull in a little bit on Friday on really low volume, but that's exactly what you want to see. So you can see all the big moves up have been on high volume. Moves to the downside have been on low volume. So that's exactly what you want to see. It could set back up for higher. Just remember, we are a little bit away from the 8 EMA, so it's going to be lower probability until the 8 EMA catches up. But ideally, what you would want to see is like a controlled slow pullback to the 8 EMA, something like this to set up, and then continuation. Then you could look for that to play out. But it does look pretty nice. This is going to be on YouTube, so you'll be able to go back and see it if you missed any parts of this stuff. Also, the live training that I did earlier is going to be on YouTube as well, and in the Discord for everybody to see. All right, last one I'm going to be doing, guys, A-Lab. Cover this a little bit, but is it extended? I would say on the weekly time frame, it is getting extended, but obviously the strongest stocks in the market can be extended over a long period of time. As long as there's no big sell volume, which look at the volume, there hasn't been, I would say the stock's going much higher because look at the volume patterns. There's literally been zero institutional selling. If anything, there's been more buying than selling, right? Look at the volume here. Every single time it moves higher, like these are perfect volume patterns. Even going all the way back to here, you can see that institutions just been loading up on this name. Like they love this stock. I don't know if the company's amazing. I don't really know even like what this, I mean, I know it's a semiconductor name. I don't really know what they do that much though, but obviously, I mean, institutions love them, so we love them, and the volume patterns are there. So as long as it stays like this, we want to be involved in these type of names. All right, guys, gonna wrap it up. Again, if I missed some of your stuff, I'll definitely get back to it. But yeah, selling baby oil to Titty, bro. They might have to be with the way the stock is moving. I don't know, but yeah, I'll be posting this channel. I'll be posting this this to my channel. If you missed anything, you can go back and watch it. And yeah, let's have an amazing year, guys. 2025 coming up. Wednesday market's going to be closed, obviously, but Thursday's going to be the first day of 2025. Let's kill this shit. Honestly, like, so much money to be made out there in the markets. I want every single person to be able to get to where they want to be, become profitable. I believe in every single one of you. You just have to do the right things. You know what you have to do. Just apply them in 2025. Go get after it. Go get it. Trading changed my life, so I wanted to change every other person's life in here as well. I want everyone to have the results that they're looking for. Obviously, and not everyone's going to make it. It just happens in trading. A lot of people do fail, but if you are serious about it, get out there, go get it. I really want you guys to succeed. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. Have an amazing rest of your week. I'll see everybody tomorrow morning for live trading, and have a great rest of your night, guys.